Hey guys, this is the Real Estate Podcast and it's your host, Alex Kaufman. Now, before we dive into today's episode, I need you to do me a solid. Hit that subscribe button on your phone if you haven't done so already, and share this episode with just one person. It's going to help us get this information out to more people to learn about entrepreneurship and real estate. Thanks. Now let's dive into today's episode.
There's nothing wrong with being concerned or fearful or any of those things, right? Those are all healthy human emotions. But we don't want to be controlled or constrained by those. So we want to always look for the opportunities. So I've always operated on the 180-degree rule, which is if I do the opposite of what most people are doing, more times than not, it's going to be the right thing and I'm going to succeed.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Real Estate Podcast. Today we have a very special guest. We've got Chris Heller. Chris Heller was actually on the podcast probably about a year or so ago, wasn't it, Chris?
Yeah, I think so.
Chris has done a lot. We could probably take up the whole podcast hour talking about Chris's background and everything he's accomplished. But Chris is a very experienced real estate investor, real estate agent. He's on the board of a lot of different companies. He loves helping out real estate entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general. And so today is going to be a really great podcast. Make sure you listen all the way through. We're going to be talking about what's going on currently with the economic cycle, how real estate investors can navigate what we're going through, and ultimately just what entrepreneurs should be doing right now to set themselves up to not only just make it through a downturn and recession, but also to start taking some market share and making a lot of progress. So thank you so much for hopping on with me today, Chris. I'm really looking forward to our discussion.
And Alex, always happy to chat with you.
Well, let's get started. Let's just kind of dive right into where we're at right now with the economic cycle, if you don't mind. With the rise of interest rates starting last year, a little over a year ago, we've of course seen specifically in the Austin, Texas real estate market, but I know that you are very familiar with the other markets that you're working with and everything that Ojo does. But we've seen, a downturn with prices and a decrease in consumer demand for mortgages and buying houses. And so just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on, this is the first downturn that I've been through. I was born in 1994, so in 2008, I was probably 12 or 13 years old and wasn't invested in real estate yet. So just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on where we're currently at, how this compares to where we've been before in the real estate cycle, anything that you're noticing that might be abnormal with what's happening now versus, this part of the cycle in history.
Yeah, I think, you bring up a really good point. Is a lot of people like yourself haven't experienced a different market or a downturn in a market. In 1990, our markets hit a peak, and for 7 years we were in a down market. I bought a house in July of 1990 in San Diego for $450,000, and by 1997, that house was worth $325,000. So we had a 7-year down cycle. We had prior to that, we had about an eight-year appreciating cycle. In 97, the market turned, and from 97 to 2005, we had a rapidly appreciating market. At 2005, the market started to peak. In 2006, 2007, then we hit 2008, which was an event that no one anticipated. Myself and many people anticipated that the market would turn in 2005 or 6, because affordability was becoming an issue. We'd had again 7 or 8 years of that cycle, and it was normal for these economic cycles to take place, especially in real estate. But the banking crisis wasn't predictable, I guess, except for one person and one company that they made the movie about. And then 2012, we sort of hit the trough. 2011 was really the bottom. 2012 was kind of the trough, and then 2012 up until last year, we saw an appreciating market. Now, what people have come to understand is that in 2020, when the pandemic started, it created a dynamic that, again, no one could have anticipated and no one could have predicted what would have happened. In fact, many people thought at the beginning of the pandemic, the exact opposite of what happened would happen. And instead, we had this turbocharged, market dynamic, which caused a huge amount of demand and buying, and that coupled with, um, historically, maybe never to be seen again, that low of interest rates that would cause this perfect storm of increased demand and shot the market up even higher. Well, that's done now, and now things are coming back down and adjusting. So I think the main point is these cycles are normal. And every time there's a change in the cycle, regardless of where the change is, up or down or good or bad. And the other thing is, keep in mind, during any of these runs, whether it's a run up or run down, it's never a constant run up or a constant run down. There's times where it feels like it's bottomed out or going up again or going down again or what have you. But the important thing, especially for investors, is that change equals opportunity. And whenever there's a change in the market, in the economy, opportunities are created.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, what are some of those opportunities that you think are presenting themselves for investors right now?
Yeah. So change often creates fears. Change often creates uncertainty. And I don't mean this in a negative way or predatory way, but there's opportunities to take advantage of that. Sometimes it causes people to do things that they normally wouldn't do, or to make decisions that they normally would make, or to speed up the decision they were going to make. And if someone's made the decision, gosh, you know what, I better sell now because I want to preserve as much equity as I can, or I want to go take advantage of this plan that I've had to take advantage of to go move to this property and build my dream home, or whatever their plans are. That could create motivation in a seller. The other thing that happens when there's a change is the balance of negotiating leverage changes, right? During the pandemic, as everyone knows, the seller held all the leverage, right? If you were buying a property from a seller, you were buying it with whatever it had, however they wanted to sell it, at whatever price, on whatever terms. In a changing market like we're in now, the buyer actually has more leverage in most markets. And so if you're a buyer and or investor, that's a good thing, right? You can create, different terms. You can create different circumstances to be able to buy a property the way you want to versus, having to compete with 27 other people and do it not necessarily on your terms. So there's just more opportunities. What'll happen also is in tougher economic times, there are people that will have, unfortunately, economic challenges, and those people will be forced to sell their properties. And normally at this stage of the market, we'd be talking a lot about foreclosures and short sales. The reason that we don't hear a lot of that talk now is that we are entering this time at a time where people have record amounts of equity. And that hasn't been the case in the last few downturns, where the people were fairly leveraged, and largely because of the way that lenders were loaning money. So I don't know. I'm not saying that there won't be foreclosure or sales, but I think they'll be few and far between. That doesn't mean that there won't be good opportunities, though.
Right. No, I mean it's very interesting because and I agree with you. And for everybody who is listening, with the motivated sellers that Chris is talking about, where they do want to, are forced to sell their property maybe at a good price to investors. One thing that Chris, I'm always telling our guys is, hey, look, we're never going to do a good job taking advantage of people, and that's not our goal. Our goal is not to come in here and steal this house from a seller. Our goal is to truly figure out what the seller's problem is, figure out what their motivation is, and figure out how we can provide a solution for their problem. Now, it's got to be a win-win scenario. The seller's not going to do it if we don't provide a good enough solution that solves their problem, and we're not going to buy it if it's not a good enough deal for us. And majority of sellers that we talk to understand this, and we're very transparent about, hey, we are investors. We do have to make money in this somehow, some way. So let's see if we can work together to figure out a solution that both parties are happy for. And we're truly able to come in, or investors in general, or someone who's looking to help this person out is able to truly help them out of a situation that maybe they didn't have a solution presented to them previously that was able to solve.
Yeah, Alex, I want to drill down on the point you made is that none of us would think about taking advantage of people as being an okay thing to do. There's a difference between taking advantage of people and taking advantage of situations. And when the economy changes, that's a situation that changes. And those are when we say take advantage of things, we're talking about taking advantage of those type of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, previously it was, when the market was really, really hot, it was taking advantage of that situation, being able to find a deal and be the seller and take advantage of, we've got 100 different buyers to choose from to buy our properties. And so we're going to get the best terms we can get. But it is, really important to be able to navigate and identify the opportunities as they come up. One thing that we've been doing is identifying some seller finance deals where, because with rates being where they're at right now, a lot of the prices that we would traditionally buy at with the lower rates don't work anymore. So with sellers, we're able to come in and offer a solution to potentially get them the price that they want, so long as we can, work out terms with seller finance that makes sense for us with mortgage payments and timeline and cash flow. So that's another way that people could be looking for opportunities right now. And there's a lot more that are going to come. It's hard we've had an issue, and maybe would love your insight on it, but we've had an issue predicting what the opportunity will be exactly prior to the opportunity presenting itself, but we have to just figure it out in the moment. And it really just kind of hits us when we say, all right, we're hitting our head against the wall here. This isn't working anymore. Let's try this. And then, the new opportunity is there.
Yeah, it's like no one has a crystal ball. So, when you look into the future, I think one of the most important things is to really have clarity on what your goal is, right? If I'm buying a property, it's a long-term, I'm looking at the property and considering the property or the opportunity as a long-term situation or a long-term play, then I don't need to be so concerned about what the market looks like 12 months from now or 24 months from now. So now if I'm buying a property because I think I can fix it and flip it, then it becomes really important what we think is going to be going on 6 months from now, 12 months from now. So, that's one thing we need to look at. We don't always need to know, where we think things are going to be, because here's what we always know is over the long run, there's inflation, there's appreciation, and 10 years ago, things were less expensive than they are now, and 10 years from now, things are going to be more expensive than they are now. And it just, in terms of real estate, what matters is, how much of it we're holding and how much of it we're able to acquire at a good buy. So then when it is worth more, we have the luxury of taking advantage of that if we want or need to.
Right.
The other thing that's really key is, and you touched on it, there's this type of environment does create different types of opportunities. Seller financing is one. Lenders offering products that they weren't offering, the past 10 years, with buy downs and ways of getting lower rates. So there's a lot of different levers that we can maneuver to make sure that whatever we're doing makes sense financially.
Is there a certain type of opportunity that you personally are looking for right now with real estate investments, or just in general?
Yeah, It's a really good question. I'm always looking for opportunities, and you know, the, the question that I'm sure we both get asked a lot is it a good time to buy? And my response is always the same. It's always a good time to buy if you're getting a good buy. So, I'm looking for opportunities where there's it's cash flow positive properties. I tend to like to buy and hold. Um, I have done flips. I'm not opposed to doing them. If one presents itself that it makes more sense to do that, I certainly do that. But I'm looking for long-term valuable. So properties that are in the path of progress, properties that are in the area where things are going and growing, that will be a much more valuable area 5 or 8 or 10 years from now. And then there's properties that make sense financially where I'm getting a good return. When the appreciation rate slows down or goes down, then your cash on cash return becomes even more important. Right? When a property is going up in value, 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10% a year, you're okay with a 2 or 3 or 4% cash on cash return. When it's not, then you want to be looking at that, that 8, 9, 10, 12% cash on cash return. And so those are some of the things that I look for and look at.
Yeah. That's how we've switched a little bit. And again, this was the first time kind of gone through a cycle in general. So learning it as we go along, and for everybody out there who's maybe just getting started investing or looking to get started investing. I mean, for myself, I can listen to as many podcasts, as many books, as many speak to as many very knowledgeable people as I possibly can. However, it's really hard to internalize what all that information really means until I experience it on a personal level. And so I've heard my entire investing career, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. However, when we were buying deals in Austin that were appreciating 20%, 40% a year, and we were able to buy with hard money loans at 10% at really good prices, get all the appreciation on top of it, and then 6-12 months later refi into 4% long-term debt. That strategy was working out really, really well for us, and it does not anymore. And so our strategy has completely changed to really only buying properties that do provide us that cash flow, because it's really the only thing we've got at this time to provide that return that we need.
Hi, my name is Alex Kaufman, and I am the co-owner of Typekey Real Estate. Since the beginning of time, real estate has created more millionaires than any other investment, and I want to get you a ticket to our real estate workshop so that you can get everything needed to start investing today. I know you don't have the knowledge, the resources, or the connections to start investing. Most beginner investors spin their wheels over and over without actually taking any action to successfully start buying real estate investments. That's why I want to get you your ticket to our workshop so that you can meet the right people and learn the exact steps to start buying investment properties. And it doesn't cost you thousands of dollars either. In fact, I'll give you an executive ticket for less than $100 so that you can get in the room with the right people and leave with $1 million worth of value. Just click the link below to grab your ticket today.
Yeah, it is. It's just, how we look at things change when the market change. And part of that too is mindset, right? Like the general population, or the general consensus about how we think about things when things go from like really good and really great and really frenzied and really fast to the opposite of all those things is, the mindset tends to get negative. Like, hey, this is a bad time. This is a bad things happening. These are negative impacts to the economy and to people. And if you can shift that mindset to a mindset of opportunity, and looking for the opportunities in the things that are happening, you'll see things that you don't normally see because you've changed the lenses that you view them through. So, having an opportunity mindset or a strong mindset when it comes to blocking out the negative and focusing on where there's opportunities will help you see things that you probably wouldn't see or recognize.
Right. Yeah, and it's the mindset is really important. I think the commitment to it is really important. I think it's hard to uh really kind of with anything you're doing when things turn south or there's a lot of negativity to turn that around and really look for the opportunities and have that positive mindset, if not fully committed to whatever you're doing. But I do want to talk about mindset a little bit. So you wrote Dominant Thoughts. And when did you launch that book? About a year ago?
Yeah, we wrote and launched that book about a year ago. It's called Dominant Thoughts, as you said. It's a short business parable. It's not real estate specific, although a lot of real estate people and a lot of young entrepreneurs have really taken to it. And it's a story about a mentor and a mentee. And I basically took all the lessons that I've learned in the last 40 plus years of doing this, and the great mentors that I've had, and woven that into this little story of how people can achieve things that are extraordinary when they are just an ordinary person like I was.
Yeah. Well, we're all just kind of ordinary in a sense. But I have this thought, and I'm very curious to understand how you think about it. But where do you think that the commitment, the hard work, everything that you put into your entire career from day one, and the positive mindset, where do you feel like this comes from? From people who are looking to improve their mindset, or people who are looking to read Dominant Thoughts and kind of change the way that they think about things. And the reason I ask is because I'm wondering if it's something that can be learned. Is it a muscle that you must work out over time? Because I try and think of, for myself, was there a moment, or was there a reason that caused positive mindset and being able to work through opportunities? And for me, it was almost out of a crisis. I don't know if you know this, but from 11 to 21, I was under the influence of drugs and alcohol the entire time. And by 21, I was a full-blown heroin addict. And in that moment, when I did actually get sober, I was either going to die or go to prison for the rest of my life for something stupid that I had done. And so it was like that moment that caused everything forward. And I'm curious if that was something for you, and what your opinion is on that in general for people out there looking to improve.
Yeah, like, I think I think most of us have things that happened that caused us to become who we are. And some of those are big, dramatic and traumatic things, and some are little things, but they all shaped who we are. Regardless of who we are, though, I think that developing that type of mindset is something that anyone can do. And it is a muscle. It is a muscle that can be built and developed, but like any other muscle, if you don't use it and exercise it and build it and develop it, it won't be functional, or won't exist. So it takes for many people, it takes much more of a conscious effort than it does for others. But that doesn't mean that anyone can do it. I mean, if we look at, I don't believe that some people were born with a stronger mindset than others, or some people were more driven than others, or some people are more disciplined than others. I believe that things happen that cause us to develop those muscles and those habits. And some of them, again, were conscious, some of them were unconscious or subconscious, that because of our situations. I know for myself, I'm a combination of both. But when it comes to developing the discipline and the mindset, there were very specific things that I did to do that, to help me achieve the things I wanted to achieve. And those are the things we talk about in the book, and those are the things that anyone can do. The first step is just having the awareness of either where you're at or where you want to go. A lot of us one of the things that we talk about is just, your positive or negative mindset, right? We are in a world where there is way more negative than positive, right? With the news, the social media, the world events, the economy, everything, you can really go down some dark tunnels if you really focus on those things. And we know that what we focus on expands. So, how do you limit your focus on those negative things? And at the same time, increase your focus on positive things. And I'm talking about with every input, right? What we listen to, who we talk with, what we watch, who we spend time with, our physical environment. Are we doing things to make sure that we're limiting the negative, shielding ourselves from the negative, and then at the same time, maximizing the amount of positive that we're putting in? Because it's much easier to accomplish things. It's much easier to create the habits and have the discipline and do the things we know we need to do to be successful when we have a good mindset. When we have a negative mindset, or we're depressed, or we're focusing on all the negative things, it's hard to be at peak performance. You can't do it. So limiting the negative and focusing on the positive is just one of the things that helps put you in a frame of mind to where you can then do the things that you're supposed to be doing. It helps you do more even on the days that you don't want to do it or don't feel like doing it.
Mm-hmm. Is Dominant Thoughts the first book you've written?
It is. I've had many times during my career thoughts of writing a book, but again, the right opportunity presented itself. I was on a podcast about 2 years ago, standing about 5 feet over from where I'm standing right now. And there were 3 guests on the podcast, me and 2 other guests, and one of them was a guy named Greg Reed. He's a phenomenal human being and has written over 50 books. And the host of the podcast said, "Hey, Chris, when are you gonna write a book?" I said, "I don't know. I've thought about. I'd have to pick Greg's brain on how to do it." And 2 days later, Greg called me and said, "Hey, you mentioned you want to write a book. I've done it a bunch of times. If you have the content, I have a title already. I have the URL. I have all the contacts. I can tell you and show you exactly how to do it. But you got to provide all the content." I said, "I got the content. I've had it in my brain for a long time." And so we wrote the book.
Got it. So y'all wrote it together?
Yeah, we're co-authors. He basically mentored me in doing it. I did the book. It's my content, my my lessons and everything else. And he was my mentor, show me what to do, when and how and where and with whom and all those things, which were really key, right? Those are the things I didn't know.
Right. And so that was going to be my question was, because you're extremely experienced, extremely knowledgeable about many different things, why you chose to write your first book about mindset. Was it the URL and the title already picked out, or?
No, it was it was because it's one of the things that since my early 20s, 20, 21 years old, it's one of the things I've really focused on that's helped me succeed at the level I have. I mean, for those of our viewers or listeners that don't know, I was one of the top real estate agents in the country. I ultimately became the #1 real estate agent in the world for Keller Williams. Became the president of Keller Williams Global and handled all the global expansion around the world. He became the CEO of the whole company. Was then the CEO of another company that was owned by loanDepot. Chief real estate officer now for the successful startup in Austin. All those things, all those opportunities presented themselves because of the results I was getting. And the results that I was getting were largely due to my mindset and developing discipline in key areas that would allow me to achieve things that others weren't able to achieve or weren't able to sustain achieving. So it was a topic that's very familiar to me, and I already had a lot of content on because it's something that I work on all the time and continue to work on all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's extremely important. And I'm sure for myself at least, and I'm sure your experience has probably been similar. Just like you were talking about earlier with cycles and market going up and down. Similar to that concept, even with mindset, it kind of mindset, everything, discipline. I mean, I go through cycles of discipline, mindset, and it's never either straight up or straight down. Sometimes it's up and down, and really having awareness around that to work through it is extremely important.
Yeah, it's like most things in life. It's like our physical health, right? If we want to be in the best possible shape, that means we have to have discipline about our diet and our exercise. And there's times where people are very good about those two things, and there's times when they're not. And the more consistent that we can get, just like with diet and exercise, the more consistent we can be with having a great mindset and a strong mindset, the easier it is to operate at an optimal level or at peak performance.
Right. Well, with a lot of the businesses that you work with, so how many boards are you on?
So I'm on the board. I was actually started as a board member of Ojo and then joined them full time in 2019. Then I'm on the advisory board of four other companies, and then I'm an advisor for a handful of other companies.
So around 10 to 15-ish, somewhere around there that work directly with.
Mm-hmm.
When you're for all other business owners out here, and I know that these are really the same answer to a lot of these different questions for the real estate scenario, for investors, for anyone looking to improve their mindset, and what I'm about to ask for business owners. But with the business owners that you help out on a weekly, monthly basis, and for anybody out here who has their own business that might be concerned with where the economy's headed into, what would be your advice for them as we navigate through this part of the economic cycle?
Yeah, it's there's nothing wrong with being concerned or fearful or any of those things, right? Those are all healthy human emotions. But we don't want to be controlled or constrained by those. So we want to always look for the opportunities. So I've always operated on the 180-degree rule, which is if I do the opposite of what most people are doing, more times than not, it's going to be the right thing and I'm going to succeed. And in a time where many people are hunkering down and pulling back, being able to go on the offensive and be able to be proactive is how most companies that make great gains and create great wealth do it. They do it in down markets. That's what history has shown us time and time again. So it doesn't mean that we're fiscally irresponsible or that we're not, cutting expenses or saving as much as we can. But at the same time, we are also looking to where we can make investments and where we can take advantage of opportunities versus just hunkering down and contracting. And I think for any business of any type, you want to have that mindset, right? We want to be as lean and mean as we can from a financial perspective, and at the same time aggressive and being on the offensive when it comes to opportunities that we can take advantage of to grow or to take territory or to take market share.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's you always have to especially now, you have to look for those opportunities and make adjustments. And there's some things that are just right around the corner that a lot of people may not be aware of, us included, on, is this going to work? Is this going to work? Is this going to work? But constantly really pushing to find that, depending on where we're at and what we're looking to accomplish, the thing that's going to propel us forward for our current goal. So, well, this has been great. I mean, what can our viewers do for you to add value to Chris Heller's life and business?
Look, I love contributing. So if there's things I can help with, feel free to reach out. You can contact me on any social media platform. If you want to read a great little book on, developing a strong mindset and having some specific lessons that you can learn to grow and do better, then check out Dominant Thoughts. It's on email, or we have our website, dominantthoughts.com. And if you like it, share it with other people.
Good. And anything regarding if people want to send you deals or something, to reach out to you via your social media channels is best?
Yeah, you can just DM me or contact me. Happy to chat.
Perfect. And then any last minute things that you would kind of want to leave people with?
Yeah, it's as long as we're delivering value to the people that we interact with. I always operate on what comes around goes around, and I think if we always have that mindset, whether you want to call it luck or good fortune or karma or whatever you want to call it, good things do come and good things will happen. It's important not to have the expectation, but just have the knowing that they will. So help people, be of value in your business. Make sure your customers are getting massive value in everything that you do. And if you do that, you won't have to worry about the future.
All right. Dominant Thoughts. Thank you, Chris Heller. We're going to have, for everybody listening, wherever you're watching this on, we'll have a link to Dominant Thoughts in the description below, so you can go check it out. Thank you for your time, Chris. And hopefully we get you on again soon. Maybe this is an annual thing or something.
All right. Sounds good. Happy to.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
All right.